Oh, I got my Buffalo Bills. They got off the schneid this week. Big time bounce back win over the Carolina Panthers. The very limping Carolina Panthers, led by Cam Newton and also sans any kind of kicking game. So they kind of got a bit of a break there. But I kind of saw what I needed to see after a couple of tough losses to the Patriots and then the Tampa Bay Bucks. Probably as tough a 2 game stretch as just about any team has gone through this year. They really showed a lot in that second half against the Bucks as well. They were kind of unfortunate to lose that game. Questionable pass interference or non-call, I should say, on Diggs in the end zone.
Terrible,
Um,
terrible.
Obviously, Brady finds a way to win it in overtime. They're 8-6 right now, guys. They've got everything in front of them still. They've got a rematch against the Patriots at Foxborough on Sunday, and then I talked about a really tough 2 game stretch. They have a very easy 2 game stretch to end their season at home against the Falcons and the Jets. So if they could find a way to win on Sunday, I still love their chances to win this division and still be probably a top 2 or 3 seed in the conference. So even though they've had some major slip ups this season, their main goals are still in front of them and they can still accomplish them.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the Bills being at 10. I think that they're probably better, um, even still right now, I think, than the Patriots. Having the Falcons and Jets after this Patriots team really boasts for, like you said, if they win this game, they're going to win this division. And so I don't, I don't hate you for having Buffalo at 10. I'm not going to yell at you too much, call you too much of a homer for having Buffalo at 10. But they do have New England, and it's in New England. And if they don't find a way to win this game, they're right back out of your top 10, even though they still probably win their final two and win a wild card spot. But they need to win this division. They need to have most of the teams come through Buffalo at least until the NFC title game.
Yeah, it's a major home field advantage. Look, there's a couple other teams I definitely considered having in the spot, the Bengals, 49ers, not to spoil the rest of my top 10. It was definitely a toss-up. Chargers are another team that I considered there. Their coach, Brandon Staley, I've been kind of singing his praises all year, but he may have cost his team the game Thursday Night Football against the Kansas City Chiefs, going for it on fourth down a couple times unnecessarily. I believe they lost by what, 1 point.
Yeah.
There's also a scary situation with the tight end there going for the touchdown with the shaking arms, which I don't believe was from the weather, as Joe Buck suggested a little bit erroneously. So look, it's pretty tight there after you get past the first handful of teams or so. I just think Bills have enough going for them that I kind of like their chances actually this Sunday. They just got
I
to
noticed
execute.
one of the teams you didn't think about putting in there was the Bears. Do you have them ranked at like 43rd?
Sheesh.
So full disclosure, you keep dropping them down. Full
Yeah.
disclosure, it's been crazy at work, and I just kind of, crumpled together a top 10. I usually do a full 32. Um, I will say this, and this is no disrespect, Combs, to your hometown team. If there was like an exciting ratings, a team that I'm interested in, Bears would definitely be 32. Are they the worst team
Yeah.
in the NFL?
They
They're
would still be
not.
43rd, and I'm a Bears fan.
I mean, Justin Fields, you feel for this kid. He's taking a bunch of hits. He can't get a call to save his life. Um,
Oh my god, that was brutal.
yeah,
He shouldn't
I
have
don't.
faked the slide the first time. Get out of here.
Well, I mean,
Stop it, Buck.
Kenny Pickett has just ruined that for all quarterbacks going forward, right? With that little fake slide touchdown there against Wake
How about the
Forest.
one where 3 seconds after he threw it, the guy picked him up and suplexed him and still no call?
Don't be a
It's
bitch.
unbelievable.
It's
If that
fine.
was Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, 72 flags would have flown in on the play. It
Yeah,
would have been they would have had a 45-yard penalty and an extra 7 points given to the team of the quarterback that got hit. Give me a break.
yeah, no, he's probably been maybe the second best rookie quarterback, obviously after Mac Jones. Surprisingly, Davis Mills has been okay too for the Texans, but he's just getting crushed too. Pretty weak quarterback class, I think, really for these rookies. But he's trying to do the best they can. They've got a pretty decent defense, but uh, they're miles away. They need a lot of help. They're going to have another top draft pick. They need to sign some free agents. They need to figure it out. They might have a new general manager. Ryan Pace has been there for a while. they're almost certainly going to have a new head coach. So it's going to be a bit of a makeover edition, Chicago Bears edition.
God, I hope so. Please
Yeah.
bring on Eric Bieniemy.
Bucks got some
hang
breaking
on.
news, maybe.
Yeah, some breaking news. The Chicago Bears and Matt Nagy have agreed to.
I'm just going to go ahead and mute him right
$100
now, so I don't have to
suspension.
listen to what he's about to say, because I know where he's going with this, and I'm not going to listen to it, Buck. I'm not going to listen to it. Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace are both on their way out the door, and you suck. Who's at number 9, Graham?
So number 9, we got the Indianapolis Colts. This team's really been on a real roll after losing, I believe, their first 3 games. They probably have the best running. Well, they have the best running back in the NFL, Jonathan Taylor. Certainly an MVP candidate. Peter King kind of made his case for that in his column on Monday morning in America, or whatever it's called. I really like what I've seen out of this team, and I think Taylor is the perfect complement to Carson Wentz. Is Carson Wentz the kind of guy I want throwing 45 passes a game? No, because probably about 3 or 4 of them will end up in the arms of the other team. He's pretty turnover prone, but he's been able to avoid those major mistakes. The defense is looking better. Remember a couple of years ago when Matt Eberflus, the defensive coordinator, was being named as a possible head coaching candidate? We haven't heard that much over the last year and a half or so, but he's got these guys flying around. They've gotten enough out of the passing game. Pascal and some of the other guys come to mind, Pittman as well. I think this is a tough team. Frank Reich, tough as nails. He led the Buffalo Bills to the greatest comeback in NFL history. So this guy knows a thing or two about being battle tested. So they're in a really good spot. Now, they did lose a couple of head-to-head matchups against the Tennessee Titans, but they could still win this division, guys. They're only 1 game behind. They just kind of need Tennessee to falter another time or two. But they're going to be a dangerous wild card team at the least, I think.
And I'm okay with you with your Colts at 9. I'm not going to beat you up too much here. I do expect, though, that if they win this game this weekend, the Indianapolis Colts need to be in your top 5, because I know that they had a tough go to start the season. I know that, but not only that loss against the Buccaneers is one of the ones where they played their butts off and they were right there. I mean, it was a 38-31 game. They were right there with them. But since, losing that last game to the Titans, they beat the hell out of the Jets. They beat the hell out of the Jaguars, as they should. But then they beat the hell out of the Bills in Buffalo.
Yep.
And then what they did in New England last week in New England was impressive to me. It was in Indy, but it was still impressive to see what they did because of how well the Patriots have been playing, the high that the Patriots were running on, coming out of a bye week, which you usually don't. The Patriots don't lose coming out of bye weeks, right? Bill Belichick doesn't lose coming out of bye weeks, and he got his butt taken to him. So I'm okay with the Colts at 9. I just think that if they win their game this weekend, if they go out there this weekend and they beat the Cardinals, the Indianapolis Colts absolutely need to be a top 5 team in your power rankings.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Actually, there are some other media publications that have them as high as 3. So you're right. I'm not quite there yet, but you think about some of their losses. You talked about the Tampa Bay loss. The second Tennessee game at home was terrible. If you think about that Wentz interception in the end zone, and then the second one in overtime, that pretty much coughed the game away.
It was still only a 3-point loss.
Yeah, only a 3-point loss. You're right. And then also the Ravens game on Monday Night Football, they had that game. I think they were up 23-9, 25-9 in the fourth quarter, guys, and they still found a way to pull out that game. So they could easily be a 10-11 win team. But I think they could be inching a little bit higher up these rankings if they find a way to win against the Cardinals. 2 teams kind of going in opposite directions right now.
It's not if
they haven't really lost the game by more. Yeah, and they haven't lost a game by more than 11 points all year either. So they're in every game they're playing.
Yeah. Very competitive team. As is the next team I have at number 8 to kind of play host for a minute here. The team just right ahead of them, they could see them in their rearview mirror, the Tennessee Titans. They took a tough loss against the Pittsburgh I almost called them the Penguins. I haven't even had the eggnog yet. Steelers. Ryan Tannehill really kind of coughed this game up. I talked about Wentz doing the same thing. Tannehill, I really expected to see him elevate his game, but he's really not that kind of quarterback. He's a quarterback that needs a good running game. He needs Derrick Henry back in the worst way, and he needs 25 to 30 pass attempts per game, or even less than that. He's a guy who can make things happen with his legs. He's not really he's somewhere in that middle tier quarterback level, so somewhere in the teens, I would say. and he's prone to making some bonehead plays, and that's what he did late in that game against Pittsburgh, in a game they really should have won. And that would have given them that little bit of extra breathing room over the Colts. Look, they probably only need to win one of their final games to probably win that division. Two would definitely do it. If they could get King Henry back, I still think this team could be a real force in the AFC, which is a bit of a weak conference this year. But he's such a big part of their identity. I just don't know how far they'll go if he's not able to come back soon.
So I wouldn't say the AFC is weak by any means. It is very competitive. I mean, just the top 2-3 teams that were like the last year, the Bills and the Chiefs, and we could throw in the Colts in there too. They have kind of come down a little bit, and everybody else has kind of elevated their game a tad bit. But just to add to your Ryan Tannehill thing, he doesn't need King Henry. He just needs some receivers, because the Tennessee Titans receiving core is riddled with like injuries. I think A.J. Brown should be coming off of IR this week to play the 49ers, so that will definitely help. And Julio Jones is back on IR now. So, I mean, that's their biggest downfall, is they don't have any receivers that are healthy. And, of course, they also lost their tight end in the offseason, and they didn't replace him with anybody. So,
and they better wake up going into these next 2 weeks, because you've got the Niners and the Dolphins coming up, and both of these teams are playing really good football right now. So they could both sneak up and bite you, and all of a sudden you find yourself not even in the playoffs, let alone not winning your division.
They'll lose the next 3.
Yeah, good point by you, Buck. Kind of a bit of an oversight by me also with the receiving threats there. They actually do use 3 tight ends, Michael Pruitt, Anthony Ferkser, and I'm snoozing on the other guy, Swaim. They actually use all 3 of those guys. There's very few teams that use 3 tight ends. I think they all have over 10 catches, which is pretty rare.
But are those 3 as good as Jonnu Smith, though?
No, not even close.
Right.
But they kind of fit into this team, and they use them in different ways. Pruitt's a pretty athletic guy. He's probably the most athletic out of those
100%.
3. But I'm going to move on to the number 7 team, and this is a team that's kind of been tumbling down quite a bit since a couple weeks ago. Last time I saw you guys, they've lost a couple in a row, including a fairly embarrassing fashion to the Detroit Lions last week. It's the Arizona Cardinals. The troubling trend with this team is Kyler Murray and his chemistry, or lack thereof, with some of his receivers, especially AJ Green. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but we saw this a couple months back when they played the Green Bay Packers, and they blew that game on the last play when AJ Green just stopped on his route as soon as the defender put his hands on him. There was a couple other times over the last couple of weeks that he was looking for him, and Green either cut in the wrong way, or he stopped on the route, or he kind of gave up on it. I don't get this, guys. Green's a veteran. He should know the playbook. He should know the plays. There seems to be something missing there. And, that's not the reason they lost necessarily. There was a lot of different turnovers and mistakes that they made in that game. But I think this is a team that, Combs, you were really high on them, and I get it. They were playing great.
I'm still high
And
on
then,
them.
I was right there with you. And then they've started to show a different side to them the last, couple weeks. And it's a little bit troubling, especially when you think about the division could be slipping away. They're tied with the Rams right now.
And I think that this is one of those times where you look at their record and you're just like, oh, man, they're slipping a little bit. But we'll pump the brakes just a little bit here. So they did lose that game, that tight game versus the Rams. It was a big game. That was a tough one to lose to the Rams, because now the Rams, are now tied with you for the division lead after their win yesterday. But then you looked ahead to the Colts and Cowboys coming up, and you completely forgot you had to play the Lions. And it was a trap game. I mean, it really was. It was a game where you go into a lot. From what I'm hearing is that DeAndre Hopkins, if this was a game against the Rams, or if this was a game, against the Colts or against the Cowboys, he would have played in this game. But it was the Lions, so he took the week off. So you don't have your number one weapon. Your running back is hurt. Your quarterback is
Are you
still
done
playing,
pumping the
coming
Cardinals
off an
fans,
injury.
Combs? Are you done pumping
The Cardinals
them up?
are
suck.
still the best team in the NFC.
No, they're not. You are
Okay,
absolutely
Buck. So
ridiculous.
tell me why the Lions should be 11-7 and the Lions should be the number 1 team in the NFC. Go
I
ahead.
didn't
Come on.
say that,
Come on,
but
smart guy.
what happened last year to the Arizona Cardinals? What they were like 8-3, and they dropped the final games of their stretch, even missed the playoffs. This is what Cliff Kingsbury does, Combs. The last 6-7 weeks of the season, he loses every game. Combs, there are 3 games left, and the trend is going to continue. He's going to lose 5 games in a row, and they're going to miss the playoffs again after starting 9-0 or whatever it was. They're out, Combs.
Hey,
The
Dan
Cardinals
Campbell's
suck.
got those Lions flying around.
Yeah.
You were all over them at the beginning of the season, Buck. It didn't look great for about the first 12 games or so, but hey, they beat the Vikings and they beat the brakes off the Cardinals. I'm for Dan Campbell getting the second season. I think you said it before. You talk about a guy you run through a wall for. He might have some weird metaphors as far as jumping biting your kneecaps off and stuff like that, but
It's called the ozone part of the field, isn't it, or something?
I would have fired him when he
Okay.
cried during the press conference.
Hey, this is an emotional guy. I would love to play for this guy. Look, Lions are far away, but he's got them playing hard still, and that's kind of cool.
The Lions are closer than the Cardinals are to winning a Super Bowl.
Oh my God, you're gonna get Combs to walk off again.
Hopefully.
I'm gonna punch him in his throat when I see him.
Make sure you bring a footstool.
The good thing for Cardinals fans, I will say,
That's what I'm gonna hit you in the throat with.
Red Sea Nation or whatever, is they can still figure it out over these last 3 games.
Can they though? Versus the Colts,
think so too.
Cowboys.
I think they're gonna lose I think they're gonna lose to the Colts. I think they're gonna beat the Cowboys, and then I think that they'll finally win another home game in the final game of the season against the Seahawks. Because the Seahawks are just terrible. They play great on the road. This team is 7-1 on the road. I think they could beat the Cowboys on the road. I do think that they might drop this game this week to the Colts, though, and finish the season at 12-5.
Well, them not getting the number 1 seed might actually be an advantage for them because of how much they have struggled at home, which is really weird to see. Their points per game, their margin of victory, so many different things. This was their first road loss, I believe, in Motown.
Yeah.
So a bit of a weird thing to see.
And it
now
also
you
helped with Kyler Murray getting an extra game under his belt too, because he has
well,
like 4 or 5 games, hasn't he? So
I mean, he was my MVP pick for the first month or 2 of the season. I think he's missed too many times. There's too many other good candidates for him to really. He'll get some votes, but he's not going to win the thing.
They
he's
just
still
went
got
to sleep versus the Lions. That's all that happened there.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, they had a chance to wake up, but it didn't quite happen in time. So number 6, another team in the NFC. A lot of good teams in the NFC this year. The Dallas Cowboys.
6?
You could make the argument that they could be a little higher. Sure. You could make that. I didn't have as much time to devote to these rankings as usual. Sometimes during the broadcast, I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I could have had them a bit higher. I think they kind of they're right where they belong. We haven't really seen the Dak Prescott that we really are used to seeing for an extended period of time. They're not really winning because of him. They're winning a lot of times because of some of the plays their running backs are making, and the defense has showed up. Micah Parsons is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Now he's a rookie, so he almost certainly will win Defensive Rookie of the Year. But they've had some other guys come through and make plays. Now the NFC East is pretty much theirs already. I don't know if they've officially clinched. I think they just need one more win or losses by WFT.
They have clinched a playoff spot, so I'd assume
and
they
the
clinched
Eagles.
the East.
Okay. I'm just not sure how far this team will go in the playoffs. If they have what it takes to win those tight playoff games. Dak Prescott doesn't have a ton of experience in that regard. I really like this team. They're a lot better than I thought they would be. Could I have them at say maybe as high as 4 or so? I probably could. But that's where I have them. So make your own damn power rankings.
I think 6 is good, honestly. Honestly, I think 6 is good, and I would maybe even put the Cardinals over them and maybe the Colts, honestly.
You go easy. What?
Yeah.
Don't you go easy on him, Buck.
Yeah. The Cowboys
This is the
really
number 2 ranked team, which means you probably have I'm assuming, I haven't seen the ranking yet, but I'm assuming you have the Patriots and the Buccaneers ahead of them. Buccaneers aren't playing as good of football as the Cowboys are right now, and they beat the Patriots. And this team is 10-4, and they're the number 2 seed in the NFC. How are they 6?
It's the power rankings, Coleman. It's week to week. It's not overall
Yeah, it's just
season.
kind of how I see things. I think the Bucks are a better team than the Patriots. The Pats, I don't know. They're in a better position, I would say, in their conference. A lot of times you're splitting hairs with these rankings. I like the Pats defense a little bit better than the Cowboys. So it wasn't like a
You should have just
unanimous
told me that,
vote.
Graham. You should have said it was the way that you see. The way you see things is great for a blind man. It's great.
Well, you guys are great looking guys. Let me just say that.
On the for the radio, right? So
You got it.
So let's jump up to number 5. You do have the Pats, and you had the Bucks at 4, and the Rams at 3. I feel those 3 teams you could pretty much intertwine any way you want there, and you wouldn't be wrong. The Patriots had the most upside, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Mac Jones, he's been really solid as a rookie quarterback. I don't want to give him too much credit because they've really been relying on that run game. Matthew Judon has been a great signing for them.
Yeah.
You don't want to give him credit because he's a Patriot.
Oh, I think a lot of people were singing his praises even after the Buffalo game where he threw 3 passes. Look, he was the 5th quarterback selected, and he looks like he's going to have a great career. I'm by no means going to take anything away from him. You know, if you think about the Alabama quarterbacks recently selected, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts, he looks like he's the best out of those 3, and really the best Alabama quarterback coming out for quite some time. It's become a bit of a factory in that regard. They don't really ask him to do a whole lot of tricky stuff, but you know, he's a rookie. They have a strong run game. They have a really good defense. They always have good special teams. So he's got to manage the game, but we've seen him make some big time throws. Obviously a bit of a setback against the Indianapolis Colts there on Saturday night, but they've got a big game against the Buffalo Bills. The winner of this game is more than likely assured of winning the AFC East, and probably not. They'll be in the mix for that first round bye and the number 1 seed. Buck sporting in a couple different hats. Where does your loyalty lie?
Buck doesn't have any loyalty. He just he roots for like 19
Kansas
different
City
teams.
Chiefs. Okay, and then Kansas State,
Kansas,
alma mater.
I think he's got a Kentucky hat on. I also think he's got the Cowboys. He's got a Packers flag in the background. Buck just likes whoever's winning.
I had Detroit Lions underwear on right now too. I'm pretty excited about it.
You could not show
those
us
ones
that,
are stained
though.
like
okay.
crazy.
We believe you.
And then coming in at number 2, you do have the Kansas City Chiefs.
Your Kansas City Chiefs,
My Kansas Chiefs, yeah.
You know, I'm hopping aboard this train. It's been churning on the track. 7 wins in a row, guys. This defense is lights out. Steve Spagnuolo has really got them, punching the ball out, forcing turnovers. And they were a little bit fortunate to win that game over the Chargers. I already talked about Brandon Staley and some of his questionable decisions, on 4th down. It looks great when you get it. Doesn't look so good when you're unable to get it.
Right.
But Mahomes had to make some throws in this game. He's been questionable almost the entire season. If you think about the number of games, his quarterback rating is in the 70s, which is just less than mediocre. So he's still one of the most talented throwers of the football. I still think he could figure it out, but he's got to stop forcing these footballs into really tight windows, because a lot of times that's what's leading to the interceptions, or he'll throw a laser when he could really use a bit more touch. So, he's still a relatively inexperienced guy if you think about his amount of time in the league, but he's very experienced when you think about the amount of playoff games and championship games and a couple of Super Bowls already. So I think he needs to kind of figure it out. I still think they're missing that weapon on the opposite side of Tyreek Hill. Mecole Hardman is sometimes that guy. We've seen Demarcus Robinson, although I believe he's on a different team right now. Might be aging myself a bit there, but Kelsey and Tyreek Hill are the 2 main weapons on this team, and I think they're just missing that third kind of X factor, if you will. But if the defense keeps playing like this, they're going to find a way to outscore teams because they're playing at a really high level right now.
Yeah, I mean, they are definitely doing very, very well. And as a Chiefs fan, I'm hoping Josh Gordon is that guy once he comes off the COVID list. You would
Yes.
think with like all the weed he smokes, that he would be like immune to COVID. But like it is what it is. But hopefully, once the playoffs come around, they do find that like that third receiver, or maybe Clyde Edwards will come out and be the running back that we all want him to be. Like maybe that would help as well.
But he don't
Yeah.
smoke more weed than me or Graham do. So it's the same. It's the same. And listen, the Kansas City Chiefs, the only problem I have with them being at number 2 is I think people see, yes, they've won, what is it, 7 straight games now, 8 straight games, something like that.
I believe it's
But
7, yeah.
the other than the Raiders games, take the Raiders games out of it, they
Yep.
haven't been scoring a ton of points. And I'm still worried about this Kansas City Chiefs offense when they play a top tier defense come playoff time. That's when I don't trust the Kansas City Chiefs, because they put up 48 and 41 against the Oakland Raiders, or the Las Vegas Raiders, I should say. But other than that, they won a game by scoring 20, another one by scoring 19, another one by scoring 17. Like, they're not scoring a ton of points on offense. They're not doing what we're used to seeing the Kansas City Chiefs do. Now, they did put up 34 against this Chargers defense this last weekend, but a lot of people score 30 points on the Chargers defense.
Right. So I don't want to get.
It's just not as impressive to me. That's all.
I don't want to get in too much talk here,
Fair
Combs, but defense wins championships, and when you're holding opponents to under 10 points and you only scored 2 touchdowns in a game,
I agree.
You're going to win a lot of games. And when we
I'm
look
okay
at
with that, but you're not going to see those types of. You're not going to see a lot of teams in the playoffs that you're going to be able to hold to under 10 points. So
I bet you
that's the problem.
Every team in the playoff picture right now, you can hold it under 10 points because they have.
But
Patriots,
they held the
Titans.
Giants down to 17. They held the Packers to 7 without freaking Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
It's not one of those things where you're extremely impressed with what their defense has done. It's great. They beat the Giants. Great. They beat the Raiders. Great. They beat the Broncos. Great. They beat the Chargers. They mixed in the Cowboys and the Packers wins there. But again, the Packers win without Aaron Rodgers isn't that impressive. Okay, me, you, and Graham could put together a game plan that could beat the Packers without Aaron Rodgers.
That's a false statement.
I'd love that challenge. I'd love to put together some plays. Certainly, honestly, the Cowboys game is probably the most impressive for me out of those kind of muddy, ugly games, if you will. They really held Dak Prescott in check. They intercepted him a few times. They sacked him several times. So they only scored 19 points in that game. Mahomes didn't look good at all, but that's the type of game they could win. They could get back to the Super Bowl winning games like that. And if you look at the other teams in the AFC that could be there, Titans have struggled offensively. We've seen the Patriots struggle at times offensively. We've seen the Buffalo Bills struggle. So they can definitely get back there riding the backs of their defense, which is a little bit weird. And we didn't think we'd be saying that back in August and September, but it's happening. Spagnuolo is a very experienced defensive coordinator, and he's got the schemes that are working right now.
And then coming out number 1, you have the Green Bay Packers, of course, the best team in the NFL, number 1 AFC or NFC team, 11-3.
Yeah, I didn't do a lot of hesitating here. They've knocked down all the obstacles in front of them, really. If you think about that debacle in week 1 against the New Orleans Saints, that seems like centuries ago. You take out that other game against the Kansas City Chiefs when Jordan No Love played, they only have one other loss, and it was an overtime loss against the Vikings, and a game they definitely could have won. Darnell Savage wasn't able to squeeze the ball when he went up and got it against Kirk Cousins there. So just a very solid season. Joe Barry's got the defense playing at a high level. Rodgers seems happy. He still seems like he needs to get a bit more sleep and maybe a haircut. I can't really talk. Mine's getting a little bit long myself. But the running game's looking good. This looks like a team firing on all cylinders. All they need to do is get back to the NFC Championship game and find a way to win it, because they've been there the last couple of years. So they've been knocking on the doors.
They're going to be the number 1 team in the NFC. They're going to get back to the NFC title game, and they're going to lose it like they do every single freaking year. That's what the Green Bay Packers do.
Yep, last couple
of
years.
I just can't wait for it, because I'm going to let Torrey have his glory days and Wyatt have their glory days all the way up to the NFC title game, and then I'm going to watch them cry in their Cheerios.
Well, just don't pee in